Hello YouTube, my name's Horace and I'm the car chap, and today I'm going to show you this review on what I think of the Ford Focus CC. Now my one is a 2008 going on 2009, and yeah, I'm just going to tell you what it's like to drive, have a little look around the exterior, and you're going to get my thoughts and impressions on what I make of this big hunk of a convertible car. Now if you want to see more videos, more reviews, stuff like this, make sure you tell me down in the comments and leave a like and subscribe while you're down there. It would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, enjoy some random person's opinion off the internet on what a car's like to drive, and also enjoy some beautiful shots of Wales. Transition. Alright, I want to start off by saying I think that this car, for a convertible, a hardtop cabriolet, I think it looks better than a soft top, and I think the design is more elegant than other similar cars. I like the front end, I like this era of Focus, I think it looks pretty good, pretty stylish, and it still looks modern even today. I think the headlights look cool. There are a lot of cars from this time that just haven't aged very well, but I think the Focus has done all right. Now, don't get me started on the rear. For a convertible, it's not bad. I think it's one of the better looking convertibles from behind, but I don't think it's pretty by any means. What I will say about it though is it is quite elegant. I think it swoops and it fades into its own shape quite well. From some angles it looks like a coupe. From some angles you can tell it's a convertible, particularly from the back. But from the side or the front, that curvature, that swoopiness is quite nice. Although these ones need a refurb, the alloys on this car, I think they're great. I think they suit it really well. I think they're stylish. Oh, and hey, if you want to see a video on my next project, which has some engine problems, which I'm going to try fix myself, then let me know down in the comments. It's the 1.4 turbo. Now, let's move on to the interior. Getting into this car, you realise that it has Ford build quality. And when I say that, it feels quite tacky, to be honest. There are bits that just feel a bit dated, and all of the trim panels just feel a bit loose. And if you get up to speed, there are a few interior rattles, very minor squeaks and rattles, but you can tell it's a Ford, that's all I'm saying. But looking past the fact that it's a Ford, it's got a leather steering wheel, it's got a nice gearbox, it's got fairly comfortable seats that hold you quite well, and some bits, like the gear knob, do feel quite well built, so it's not all bad, but it's not all great. I'd say it's probably about what you'd expect, or maybe even slightly above what you'd expect for the price. This particular car's done 87,000 miles, so there's a bit of wear and tear here and there. But yeah, it's just all right, really. That's how I describe it, it's just all right. Anyway, I think it's time to get on to the driving. Let's switch back to a day when it wasn't raining. Start off by saying this is definitely not a light car. It feels a bit like I'm driving a barge. It has a decent amount of power. I mean, it's only got a little 4-pot. It is a 2-litre Ford Duratec engine, and it's a chain-driven one. Keeping the weight in mind, it's not even that powerful of a car. I mean, 140 horsepower for a car that weighs this much really isn't that great. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has enough give, I'll give it that. You know, wherever you are, whatever speed you're at, it has enough acceleration to get you to where you're going. There's no doubt about that. But really, I think this car is quite a niche. I mean, you're looking for a certain type of person who'd want to own a car like this. Because most people, when they think, oh, I want a convertible, they think of something that's really nimble and agile and light. But this car is not that. So it's a bit of a weird one. I can see why these cars are quite rare, because they don't really fit that many people's lifestyle. When you buy a convertible, you're not really thinking about, you know, how much legroom is there in the rear or how big is the boot. You're just thinking about, is it fun to drive and does the roof work? That's all you think about when you buy a convertible. And well, the roof is excellent on this. I think for a convertible, it stops a lot of road noise, and that is a really good point for this car. But of course, because it's so insulated, that is weight, it is heavy. But then again, this car is a good cruiser. You can take it down the motorway, and although the MPG isn't great, for a 2-litre it's not bad. I think I'm doing about 26 miles per gallon at the moment. By working with a car in this budget range and this age range, I think this probably is the most practical convertible. Because, like I said, the roof isn't that noisy, it blocks out enough of the road noise to make just out on an open road, there isn't too much traffic, you know, just stick it in fifth and just drive. Although I think this car would be a lot more desirable if it was an automatic, because when you think of a convertible barge, as I like to think of it, you know, in a car like this, I think an automatic transmission would be really beneficial, because as it's heavy and, you know, the clutch is quite heavy, you know, it would be nice for the car to just do all that for you. I feel almost like I should be served by the car, like it should be doing more for me. I feel like I'm very involved, which is fun, but as it's quite a wallowy car, the manual gearbox doesn't really add that much to the car, considering it's quite wallowy and it doesn't really have that sports car feel. In something like an MX-5, 100%, you know, you want a manual all day long. But something like this, I think an automatic transmission would suit it a lot better. I think then the car would be much more relaxing to drive, and it would probably fit more people's criteria then. And they did do an automatic of these, but of course, automatics are just deadly expensive these days. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's just... Oh. It picks up alright though. For 140 horsepower, you know, you don't really need much more. That being said, the gearbox is quite snappy. I like the way that you can just throw the gear in and it feels very satisfactory. It's definitely not a loose or spongy gearbox. It is a nice, strong, well-built feeling gearbox, which is surprising. I wasn't expecting that in a Ford at all. Now, I want to discuss something that you're probably all expecting, the interior build quality, because it's pretty rubbish. I mean, the first generation of this car came out in 2006, so fair enough, it's not a new interior. The plastics haven't aged badly cosmetically. I mean, yeah, the design looks a little old now and it's showing its age, but the plastics themselves haven't like worn badly or anything like that, even for a car on almost 90,000 miles. But what I will say is how they're bolted together or, you know, clipped in, it just hasn't been done very well. There are rattles that I can hear inside the doors, parts of the door cards are a little bit loose, and you can just see that the trim hasn't been secured as you'd expect. Now, I know the car's quite heavy, but the brakes really aren't that good. I mean, they stop the car all right, about as you'd expect, but by no means do they feel anywhere near performance level brakes. I mean, you wouldn't expect that on a car like this, but they don't feel particularly great. The pads are new on this car, so it's not like I'm using really old tired, you know, brakes, but they just, I don't know, they could have put some bigger brakes maybe, or just a more operated caliper possibly, I don't know, but the brakes don't feel that great. I wouldn't really trust this car into a corner, not just because of the handling, but because of the brakes. I mean, you just, like, yeah, I mean, the car stops alright, but I wouldn't trust my life on them. They're not spongy, but they're not hard at the same time, so it's a bit of a weird one. So, yeah, I think the way that I'd summarise this car is I do genuinely think it is the most practical four-seater convertible from this age and price range. You're probably not going to be able to hear me, but let's drop the roof. I'm out in Wales, out in the hills, and it's definitely not sunny today. It was meant to be, the sun was meant to be out, but in Wales, you know, you can never trust the sun being out. Now, this experience, this roofless experience, is exactly the reason why you buy the car. That's just it said and done. This is why you buy the car. Let's take it for a short drive with the roof down. Now, I've never driven a convertible with the roof down on the roads, and already I feel very sort of exposed, like people are judging me and watching me, and I don't like it. You're probably not going to be able to hear anything I say, so just enjoy the views. and rattles, this interior is a decent place to be. I've got a nice armrest and a leather steering wheel. It's not that bad, really. I mean, yes, the build quality could be a little better, but at this price range and this age, it's just alright. And by no means is it a bad interior. Now, if you'd be interested, I actually made a video on what's wrong with this car. I bought this car for £950. If you want to see what I've had repaired, go check that video out. I'll link it in the description. But since having the work done on this car, it's now, I would say it's in good condition and it's a nice example. And I tell you what, it's worth a hell of a lot more than £950. I can tell you that for nothing. Yeah, okay, it's not the most sporty car to drive and it doesn't feel particularly well handling, but look at this, 950 quid. That's an absolute steal for a car like this.